Welcome to Smart Wealth with Joshua.
Your daily stock analysis and catalysts talk. Today we're looking at Redwire.
If you find our talks useful, please consider subscribe, like, and comment underneath to support our podcast. And if there's any stock you want us to look into, leave it in the comment section below.
So let's get into the analysis.
All right, Redwire. This one is fascinating because the recent stock chart is pretty wild. And the real question here is whether that volatility is a warning sign or a massive opportunity.
It's the classic growth story dilemma. And to understand it, you have to know what Redwire actually does. They're not just another satellite company.
Right.
They operate at this crucial intersection of space infrastructure and national security. They provide the mission-critical systems.
So the guts of the spacecraft.
Exactly. The foundational elements. We're talking structural systems, avionics, the power solutions. They enable modern spacecraft. They're very, very deep in the value chain.
And that upstream position seems to be working, at least on the top line. The numbers show pretty strong momentum.
Oh, absolutely. Revenue grew, about 17% year over year, something like 223 million up to 260 million. So the demand is clearly there.
But, and this is the big but, the short-term picture has been bumpy.
Bumpy is a good word for it, yeah. Anyone watching the stock saw that recent quarterly revenue number came in lower than expected, around 62 million.
And that's what spooked the market.
It did. It led to a pretty significant drop. The immediate reaction is, wait, is growth slowing down? Are they losing business?
But management had an explanation for that.
They did, and they addressed it head on. They said, look, this isn't a demand problem. This is a timing issue.
Timing?
Yeah, the timing of these huge government programs. You don't get paid linearly. Revenue hits in these massive chunks when you complete certain milestones. Plus, they're still integrating the Edge Autonomy acquisition.
Okay, so if the Q3 dip was just noise, what does the road ahead look like for an investor?
It looks like an acceleration. There's a huge contracted backlog. And if you look at analyst projections, they're expecting revenue to nearly double pretty soon.
Wow.
That kind of visibility suggests the dip was temporary and they're gearing up for a big ramp up. And a lot of that is fueled by programs like the DARPA Otter mission.
That sets the stage perfectly. But let's not avoid the elephant in the room. The reason the stock got hammered down nearly 30% after that report, it wasn't just revenue. It was profitability.
Absolutely. This is the core of the bear thesis. They reported a significant net loss and, importantly, negative free cash flow.
FCF. And that's the number that really scares people.
It does. We're talking tens of millions of dollars in negative cash flow in one quarter. That's what feeds this narrative that the company's overvalued, that it's just burning cash.
So when an investor hears negative free cash flow, the alarm bells go off. Why isn't management panicking? Why are the bulls looking right past this?
Because you have to ask where that capital is going. In a business like this, a high-growth, contract-driven business, negative FCF is often a sign of investment, not failure.
Okay.
They're in that capital-intensive phase. They're executing these complex, multi-year government contracts. They have to plow money into R&D, into advanced manufacturing, just to get ready to fulfill these massive orders.
So the cash burn today is actually required to generate profits tomorrow.
Precisely. Think about a big DARPA contract. The early stages are all development. It's expensive. It burns cash. The whole thesis relies on this FCF deficit inverting or inflecting dramatically around 2026.
And why then specifically?
Because that's when these programs shift from development into full-scale production, and production is far less capital-intensive. Margins expand, and the cash starts flowing in fast.
And management isn't just sitting around waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
They're actively trying to fix the cost structure now, right?
Yes, exactly. They laid out a clear turnaround plan. They're going after major cost synergies from that Edge Autonomy integration, consolidating facilities. They are laser-focused on achieving operating leverage.
Operating leverage, that's a key phrase. What does that mean for someone looking at the stock?
It means that as revenue scales up, their costs don't scale at the same rate. Your fixed costs for factories, for engineering teams, stay relatively flat.
So each new dollar of revenue becomes more and more profitable.
You got it. It drops much more efficiently to the bottom line. The whole bull case is that once Redwire hits that critical mass of production revenue in 2025, 2026, those losses we see today will flip very, very quickly into real profit.
So the trajectory is what matters.
The trajectory is everything. Near-term earnings might be negative, sure, but compare that to the huge losses from a year ago, it's already pointing straight up toward the black.
That helps make sense of the financial risk.
Yeah.
But let's pivot to the technology. Because if they do execute, what makes Redwire so special? This is where their competitive moat comes in.
It is. And their moat is really built on two pillars: their position in the market and their proprietary tech.
Let's start with positioning.
Okay, so they supply these highly specialized components way upstream in the value chain. Building these systems requires a ton of flight heritage, regulatory sign-offs. That creates incredibly high switching costs for their customers.
So customers like NASA or the Department of Defense.
Exactly, or the big prime contractors. Once Redwire's components are designed into a spacecraft, that customer is basically locked in for the life of that program, which means high-margin follow-on work is almost guaranteed.
Okay, so that's the sticky business model. What about the tech differentiator?
This is the really exciting part. We're talking about their IP, specifically the SabreSat platform combined with what's called air-breathing electric propulsion, or ABE.
ABP. That's the technology that's driving that massive $44 million DARPA contract. Why is that such a game changer?
Well, think about satellites in very low Earth orbit, or VLEO. That's the 90 to 250 kilometer zone.
Right, very close to Earth.
So close that they're constantly hitting atmospheric drag. Their orbits decay really fast. They have to burn fuel constantly just to stay up there.
Which limits their lifespan.
Severely. But ABE is different. It actually scoops up the trace atmosphere that's up there and uses it as propellant.
No way.
Yeah. It allows a spacecraft to operate for a year, maybe more, without any conventional fuel. It's basically near infinite station keeping.
And the military must love that because VLEO gives you much better sensor performance, higher resolution images. You're just physically closer to the target.
It is a massive tactical advantage. Redwire isn't just selling a component here. They are selling a strategic capability that the DoD desperately needs.
And it's something that's hard for competitors to just copy.
Extremely hard, maybe impossible in the short term. You need years of successful flight heritage, which is exactly what Redwire is building right now with that DARPA program.
And on top of all that, they have the Edge Autonomy acquisition.
Right, which broadens their portfolio into autonomous ISR, that's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance and unmanned aircraft systems. It creates this powerful dual-use portfolio for both space and defense.
Okay, so the tech is there, the strategy makes sense, but the market seems completely torn. The stock's been everywhere from $5 to almost $27 in the last year. That volatility is a huge red flag for a lot of people.
It is, and it reflects the binary nature of a story like this. It's all about execution. But if you look at the analyst consensus, it tells a different story.
What are they saying?
Their price targets are clustered way above where the stock is trading now. Some are implying over 100% upside. That suggests the market has already priced in a lot of that execution risk.
That is a huge gap between the price and the target. And what about insiders? If management really believes this turnaround story, they should be buying right.
And they are. This is a critical signal. Right after that painful earnings report, who stepped in to buy shares, the CEO, the EVP, and the CAO.
All of them.
A whole cluster of them. They're voting with their own money, signaling that they believe the market has gotten this fundamentally wrong.
And it's not just the insiders. Big money is moving in, too.
Yeah, institutional accumulation. We saw a major fund, Hood River Capital, start a brand new, significant position last quarter. They scooped up millions of shares.
So they see this as a long-term play.
They do. And even on the technical side, you're seeing a lot of speculative flow. Call options activity has been running way above average.
Which signals bullish bets on a sharp move up.
Exactly. It shows there's potential for a pretty aggressive squeeze if some good news hits.
Okay, so we have the tech, the insider conviction. But let's circle back to the risks, because this is definitely not a sure thing.
Not at all. The primary risk is still execution and that cash burn. The bear case is simple. If Redwire fails to make that transition from development to production efficiently,
Or if the cost savings from the acquisition don't show up.
then they're just going to keep burning through cash. And those static financial models, the DCF models, will keep screaming that the stock is wildly overvalued based on today's numbers.
And we have to be clear, those models aren't wrong. They're just limited.
They're limited. They can't price in the optionality of the platform, the future value of the IP, or the visibility they have from their contract backlog. The market right now seems to be viewing the stock at an attractive entry point if you believe in that 2026 inflection point.
So what should we, as investors, be watching for over the next year or so to see if that bull case is playing out? What are the key catalysts?
You need to watch that DARPA Otter Velio program like a hawk. Any progress updates, successful milestone completions, hardware deliveries, all of that is crucial.
Because it validates the core EBEP technology.
It validates the tech and its value to national security. Beyond that, any additional large contract wins, especially in national security space or resilient comms, will move the needle big time.
And zooming out, the macro environment seems supportive too.
It is. Geopolitical spending on defense and space isn't going away. That provides a really strong tailwind for Redwire's portfolio. And, if interest rates start to ease up, capital tends to flow back into high-growth stocks like this.
Right. So this whole analysis really boils down to one core decision for you, the investor.
It does. The fundamental question is this. Are you willing to look through the near-term cash burn, which is validated by that huge DARPA contract, to capture a potential multi-bagger re-rating in 2026? That's when these advanced technologies are supposed to shift from expensive development into high-margin, full-scale production.
Redwire offers a classic asymmetric long opportunity, backed by differentiated mission-critical technology and strong insider conviction. But remember that its ultimate success hinges entirely on management's ability to execute on that operational efficiency plan.
If you enjoyed this detailed look at the catalysts driving Redwire, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Smart Wealth with Joshua. We'll be back tomorrow with another analysis.